Hello and welcome to the program. The program you're about to see will challenge your Christianity. And if you thirst for the things of the kingdom, it will spur you onto higher heights in God. And it is about a ministry which is actually the largest in Europe, known as God's Embassy. And the senior pastor of the church is here with me to talk about what this organization is all about. Why is there so much happening within the organization? What kind of impact it's having? And also, how can you gain or learn from what they have done for you to take your own territory to the glory of God? You know what? Sit back and watch. And remember, you can always get copies of this material because we're going to be talking in depth about Embassy of God here in Kiev, in the Ukraine. God bless you as you continue to watch. Welcome to the program, Pastor Sunday.
Thank you so much, Pastor Yemi, and it's a privilege to have you in the Ukraine. You came all the way to the Ukraine to have this session with me, and I appreciate it deeply. Thank you so much.
So really, to get us going, I just wanted to check with you, to talk about your life, where you started from. I've been fellowshipping with you. I've heard a lot of things that are mind-boggling. How, when you were younger, you were being looked after by family members who were very rich, and then all of a sudden, something went wrong, and then you ended up actually going on the farm to collect firewood, to sell in town, and also to prepare what we call the liquid pap, which is known as ogi in Yoruba, and you prepared the item to go sell to people for breakfast. So tell us, we want to know what your background is like, so that people can have an idea, where you're coming from, so that when you're preaching the way you do today and you're talking the way you talk and you face the kind of persecution you're facing, they'll get to understand exactly what's going on in your mind.
Well, I grew up in a very small village of 40 houses. Maybe it's better or safer to call that not a village, maybe even a hamlet, because it's so small and everybody in that village, mainly older people, and then children. So I'm a village boy. I come from a very remote village. Even though our village is only 2 hours from Lagos, but I never got to see Lagos until I was about to leave the country when I got my scholarship. So just living 2 hours from Lagos, then about 1 hour, 45 minutes to Ibadan, yet I couldn't get out of my village. I didn't have an opportunity to get out of my village to even see the city in whatsoever form. So I was growing up in the village. Our family was averagely well-to-do initially when I was smaller, because the senior members of the family were, well-read. One of the youngest doctorate degree holder in the country, in Nigeria, was my senior brother, I would say, or my cousin. And then the second cousin was working in the Ministry of Finance and Statistics. And then the other one, who was a lady, she was the wealthiest of all. She was well-to-do, a business tycoon lady in Ibadan. So, dealing in textile and selling, and she was really well-to-do. But all that stopped. All that came to an end when I was 6 years old. Just in a period of 6 months, we lost all these prominent family members.
Wow.
In 6 months. So when people talk about deliverance and demonic forces, I know what it is all about. Because witchcraft, this is big-time witchcraft. I mean, the one who was the professor in the University of Ife, the one who was the first doctorate, one of the youngest doctorate, the doctor, he was a lecturer at the University of Ife. He was only 34 when he died. Then the younger brother was maybe 29. Then the lady she was in between them, and maybe that was maybe 30-something. So talking about what evil spirit could do, and the forces of Satan, we really know it. I know what it means, because these people were young, and they were none of them was like sick so much. In 6 months, the first one to die in November was the lady. She had an accident. Then the next month, the following month, the youngest, the brother who was in the Ministry of Finance, had an accident. And then the senior, the one who was the senior's brother, the doctor, he just got sick out of sorrow. He just got depressed, and out of that depression. So between November and May, the whole light of the family went off. I mean, this was a family the next person to that was educated was 16 years old in secondary school. I was in primary school. All other people were in secondary school. We all had to leave school because nobody to pay for our school fees anymore. So that was when my grandmother that I was staying with, who had not worked for several years because she had stopped working, because these children came back and said, no, you cannot have this kind of children and begin to and still continue to work. So they had told her to retire from work, so they were taking care of her. And at the age of 60, she needed to go back to the farm, and not just farming, to get firewood. And I was the only one left in the village with her. So, it got to a time that I didn't have shoes anymore, no slippers even, no canvas, nothing.
Well, prior to this happening, you said these guys were wealthy?
Yeah, they were well-to-do.
And what sort of lifestyle were you accustomed to?
Oh, they were bringing, they had the first one, who was the doctor, the first set graduate of University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and he was the top student of that first year graduate. He finished first class with distinction. So he got a scholarship from the federal government to go study in France. So he finished the University of Sorbonne. Then from there he met an English lady. Maybe she's watching us now, Aunt Susan. She's based in London now. And married an English lady, then came back to Nigeria. They had 2 daughters. And so, he was well-to-do. He was an advisor to the president of Nigeria at that time, to the head of state, Gowon, and on foreign affairs. He was an expert on that. He was in charge of the institute. He was, freelancing with the Institute of Foreign Affairs in Nigeria and acting as the editor-in-chief of the Nigeria Today, a magazine that they used to publish for foreign embassies of Nigeria all over the world. And so we were well taken care of. The junior brother was taking me in cars to school and all that, teaching me when I was 6, who was in the Ministry of Statistics and Finances. So no problem at all.
So then, all of a sudden, this whole thing changed, and you found yourself with your grandmother who was not working. So how did you manage those years?
It was worse than that, because when my grandmother heard about the death of the third one and the senior one, they're very prominent. He was on TV all the time, commenting on international affairs and all that. So when that happened, this news came out in the main newspaper of Nigeria at that time. It was Daily Times. So it was Sunday Times. They put a picture of all our family members. The front page, it was a front page national news in Nigeria.
Wow.
So when our grandmother heard about the demise and the death of the last one, she just collapsed. The next 6 to 1 year, I didn't see her because she was in a coma. And then she had to be hospitalized. So in that period of time, when she collapsed and she had to be hospitalized, and I was in the village, and my brothers, everybody just ran away from the family, because we come from an area in Nigeria that is called Ijebu. So the rumor that time was that this woman must be a witch. It's not possible. Things like this, it's not possible to happen to one family. In fact, that newspaper article that came out from the Daily Times, Sunday Times, it actually says, is this a tragedy or a curse? So everybody believed in Nigeria that was a curse. It was probably a curse, or it was a form of witchcraft. So, but everybody in the family thought, this family is cursed. You better don't touch them. Don't even move close. Don't even go close to them. So all the friends of the family, all the friends of this, my uncles and my aunts, all of them just disappeared. I mean, none of them would dare come to the village, and none of them would dare come close to our family house. Even the very people who were always in our family house before then, even the people from the very village, they will not dare come near because they said this house is cursed. And you know the way people are afraid of witchcraft and superstitions and curses. So, but most of what made it worse was they believed that this must be the handwork of the grandma because they said she has taken her children to eat that she has eaten for
spiritually.
breakfast. Yeah, spiritually, like that she had killed her children.
Wow.
So that made things worse. That was when we really needed to survive. That was when I began to go to the bush to get some fruits and to fetch some firewood. And so a year later when she came back, it became my full-time job just to survive because I needed to go to the bush, to the forest, to cut the trees, then wait for 2 weeks to dry it in the sun. Then after drying it, cut it into pieces, slate it, package it for commercial, to be sellable in a commercial way. Then I had to trek from my village of Idomela to Ijebu-Ode. Ijebu-Ode was the major city or major town near our village. So I needed to go there on a daily basis to sell my wood, my bunch of wood, because if I don't go to school. But thank God I will always be grateful for people like Awolowo and free education, because this school I'm talking about is not to pay school fees. We are not paying school fees. This is just to be able to eat, to be able to buy pen. For me to be able to buy pen and pencil, I needed to trade for a week. And for me to be able to buy my uniform, I needed to trade for the whole 3 months of summer. Just all those things were only enough to eat. And no, it was a hard life. I mean, going to the bush and to the forest, I was full of wounds and injuries. And
so, and then, you even sold what they call ogi. You prepared.
Yeah, that was in the latter years when, between the age of 6 and 12, I was just dealing with the farming and the firewood and all that. So from the age of 12, somebody came to our village who said, you old woman, you are already over 60, you could do a more civilized business. So this lady taught us how to make pap or custard.
It's like custard, liquid pap.
Yeah, it's just
from corn.
Custard. Yeah, from corn custard. So she taught my grandmother to make custard. So we needed to, so she learned the trade and she taught me. So I, together with her, I was from the age of 12 till the age of 18, we were trading in pap. And people who were growing up around my village and the surrounding villages near Ijebu-Ode those days would know me as Omologi. These are some of the lowest categories of people when they begin to call you Omologi or Eleta or Alata
yes,
or something.
And that's the reason why when I hear in the Western world, somebody commits a crime and does something silly, they say, oh, it is because of his background. He was abused when he was young. He came from a poor background. And there's always excuses for what people do. And yet we have people like yourself and so many more who went through that kind of same sort of background. But you didn't go into crime, but rather you were making do of any little thing you could get your hands on.
Yeah. It was very humiliating to engage in those things, especially when I was getting to puberty age. When I was becoming like 16, I began all of a sudden to be ashamed of myself and to be I didn't know that was the process. When you are getting to be 14, 15, 16, you begin to become more
self-conscious.
Yeah, self-conscious. So that self-consciousness brought some feelings of shame, and because I was now being ashamed of carrying the thing on my head, and then you have to announce in the street, shout, and you are hawking it, and then you are shouting as you go, so that people in the houses will know, oh, the boy that sells this custard, corn custard has come. So we say, Omologi today, erogi.
That's right.
That is like saying the boy that sells this custard has come for your breakfast. We will need some custard.
That's
for your
right.
Breakfast. And knocking from household to household like this. And so at 16 I was doing that. 17 I was doing that. Then being in secondary school, needed to do that. And seeing all these kids who are schooling. So I was a prefect. I was a senior student. Then all the kids who are junior to me was seeing me after school, that is very humiliating. But I also knew there was no other way for me to survive. So I actually did that almost till I came here. When I won the scholarship, and God gave me good result and favor.
Wonderful. Then let's fast forward from that point to when you actually got born again. How did you get born again? What happened to you?
My first encounter with the Lord was one time when the Anglican church of our village was invited to send kids to a camp, youth camp. And I never went to any of the camps. They used to do it every summer, but I could never go because summer I needed to use it to work and to gather money for my tuition for my school. And then I never had the money, just a few amount of money they needed for the transport to go to that. But this year, something happened. I think somebody came, blessed my grandmother with some money, and then she said, oh, this money will be enough to buy your uniform for the next session. So you could go to this school. And she had money. So that was the only time in my life that I went to a camp. And in this camp, I heard the testimony of this Anglican priest who studied in England and did actually his master's degree, but felt called to the ministry. He was an Anglican, but he came back, but he was born again. So he had a born-again experience. So it was totally different from what I was used to in my village. Because the traditional Anglican church I was going to, it was just traditional Anglican church, like Church of England. No salvation message, nothing alive there. So I was going there, but I was one of the biggest sinners in the village. So, but this man attracted, I saw so much grace in him. I saw something very attractive to me, that this man is born again. He's talking different. He's reading the Bible. I never had people reading real Bible. I just know about his hymn books and the prayer books, but this is real Bible. And then he's talking about real experience with God. So that time I decided, I invited people who wanted to give their lives. I did it. I went forward, but I didn't know that after you do that, you needed to change your lifestyle, or I felt something. I felt good. I felt that, I would like to keep this, but I went back to my village. No Christians. I'd never seen any born-again Christian in my life. So I didn't know something was different. But so I went back to my real normal life. But that was when I was 15. But when I was 18, after I finished my high school, I was sitting down in my sofa one day, just like this, washing. I left this village to another village. So this is my village where I grew up. I went to the other village where my other relatives were, because I was the only one left in this other village. So my other relatives took me to this other village because they were better to do. They had a father, that's my uncle, and then they had a house, so they have television there in that house. So, but being a curious student myself, I'd always liked to follow the news. So I always watched the world news. So I was watching the world news one day, and after the news, normally the program that would come, religious program, will always be the white garment church and all. But this was another program that was coming in. It was one dynamic pastor filling the stadium, and the stadium was jammed with people, and this pastor was in suit and speaking good English with somebody translating to Yoruba language. It was the 1985 crusade of the Deeper Life pastor, W.F. Kumuyi.
Okay.
So he had a crusade in the National Stadium in 1985. So they were relating that and transmitting it over the television. And I was in my deep down dark village somewhere, and I said, hey, this kind of, it looks fascinating. I liked the way he talks. And then people were coming forward to give testimonies. So I liked it. I said, oh. So this, because I'd had an encounter at that time with this man that I really got fascinated with, but I never saw miracles there. He was just talking good about Jesus. But this time, this man was talking as well about Jesus, but also was showing miracles. Then I heard the gospel for the first time, that if you want that you could try to receive Jesus. But I was suspicious. I was thinking, no, if he's going to pray for me on this television, okay, so I decided to just follow the prayers. I followed the prayers, then I wanted to try it on my own. So after the program finished, I went to my room, and it was dark at night, but I went to the room and knelt down. He said, you should repent. I said, okay. So I decided to repent of my sins and confess my sins. I did. As soon as I did, and I said, Jesus should come into my life and wash me with his blood, and something happened to me. I felt as if I had been carrying 200 kilograms of weight.
Wow. Wow.
Before this on my shoulder. I never knew I was carrying anything. Never felt like that. But now I felt so light, as if 200 kilograms of weight fell off my shoulder. As I felt so light, and then I was feeling as if somebody had just washed me, as if every cell of my being was washed clean. I sensed as if the whole room was full of light. I said, oh no, but I put off the light when I was about to pray. I opened my eyes, no light. But I closed my eyes, it was as if there was light. I went out, to the street. I saw the sky. The sky was blue. I couldn't believe it. The sky is blue. I never noticed it.
Unbelievable. Well, you know what? I want to just thank you for watching. And this particular program is ended here. But there is a part 2. And there's going to be a part 3. So please make sure you're on the lookout for the second part of it. God bless you as you continue to watch and put into practice what you have heard. Bye for now.